Well, we're talking about people standing for the MLC's position. There's 4 going, of course, this time round, and there's definitely going to be 3 new faces by the looks of it, that's for sure. Anyway, Kerry Sharpe is joining us here in the studio. You've been an author, you've been a broadcaster, you've done all sorts of things, but you haven't been a politician. I think everybody, the first question that comes to mind is, why do you want to stand out for this position?
Well, I've always been interested in people. When I look at my career in the past, I've always been interested in making documentaries about people in all walks of life, the police, within the NHS, and in all the more kind of hard-hitting areas as well.
So journalism, inquiring mind, would that be the sort of thing you'd be saying to people that you like to check on?
I like to research thoroughly, and I like to get to the bottom of things. I don't like to just take what might be the superficial story. I like to know for myself what the facts are, and to sort of examine situations from as many different perspectives as possible.
Because you spent some years writing a book about the situation on the Isle of Man with the children's homes sort of thing. Slightly, we can't go into too much detail because there's situations ongoing with that. But was that the sort of thing you're talking about? You dug deeper in there and found things that maybe people don't want to find. But am I summing that up rightly? You did a lot of research?
Yeah, I mean, the book, which is going to be published by Culture Vannin, Culture Vannin have pointed out that I've uncovered an aspect of Manx history which hasn't been looked at before.
Right.
So it was very important to me to keep working on the book. I've been through archives in the Manx Museum. I've interviewed as many people as I can find who lived and worked in children's homes on the Isle of Man, for example. And I've accumulated so much research material which has just never been
so you like paperwork,
heard of
do you? Because MLCs, it seems that you're a revising chamber to most people. Would that, you accept that as what your position would be if you got in?
Well, I mean, I'm no stranger to paperwork. I studied English at Cambridge. I love reading. I love getting into the detail of things. I've worked as a journalist in the past. I've written for The Guardian, for example, and every word that I use, every written word, is there for a reason. And so I think that I would be very interested in the legislative side as well.
Yeah, but are you a political animal? I mean, have you wanted to be an MHK? I mean, did you want to get into politics?
Well, in the past, I haven't looked to stand as an MHK because I didn't really ever think that my background was relevant to politics with a capital P. I mean, to me, politicians were middle-aged men in suits, and my background wouldn't be relevant. But now, especially through working on the book, I've become much more interested in legislation and how it affects people's lives, and it's something that I want to become more involved with. And
do you think people accept that is the right way, that you just... I mean, did you ask for the position, or did someone come to you to stand, for instance?
Well, Ralph Peake, who is MHK for Douglas North, asked me if I would like to be nominated for the Legislative Council because he was aware of the work that I'd done on the book. And I've also known Ralph since I came back to the Isle of Man. And he knows about my interest in Manx culture and the Manx language, and he knows about the work that I've done in television and at BBC Isle of Man as well. Okay,
I mean, do you do it for the money? I mean, if you get on a board, it's about £1,000 a week. Is that good, bad for you? I mean, is that a pay cut, more money, what?
Well, when I was working as a freelance producer-director, I was earning more than that per year. But for me, it's certainly not about the money. I've just been working on the book for the last 4 years for no pay at all, because I felt it was really important to look into this area of Manx history.
Any particular interests, if you were put on in a department, would you be talking to Howard Quayle and say, my particular interests are X or Y, and what are they if you have got particular interests?
Well, naturally at the moment I'm very interested in the protection of vulnerable children and young people, so I feel that I can bring a lot of my research to bear in those areas.
Okay, it's a beauty contest for your position, the position of MLC through MHKs. Do you know them all? Do you have? Do you ever go to Tynwald and watch it in action, for instance?
I have attended Tynwald over the last month or so.
Since you were, but not before then.
Not before that, no.
So you don't have a big, strong interest in politics, would you say, or?
Well, what is politics? I mean, politics is people, politics is society, and that's what I'm interested in. I haven't been interested so far in the sort of the daily runnings of Tynwald, if you like, but it's definitely something that I would like to become involved with, and it's something that I think I could bring my skills to bear.
Okay, I said you've got to persuade these MHKs that you're the person for the job.
Oh yes, well, because I'm not involved with politics at the moment, I don't personally know the MHKs, and of course these are the people who would be voting for me. So it would depend on how well I come across at the hustings and how relevant my skills and background are to the job.
How thick's your skin? Because these days the keyboard warriors have a go at any politician, be it an MLC or MHKs. Do you feel that you're tough enough to deal with that sort of criticism?
Over the last 4 years, there have been a number of individuals and organisations which have tried to stand in the way of my work on the book, looking at the history of looked after children in the Isle of Man. But I've carried on because I've been determined to look into that aspect of history, and I think it's important because I've had people's stories that have been told to me, which I think are important to publish in the book, and so I've just kept going. So I think that I would have a thick enough skin if I felt that something, if I feel that something is important enough, it's bigger than me, so I will carry on.
And do you see it as a full-time position or something you can do as you carry on writing other books, for instance?
No, it's definitely a full-time position. I mean, the book is almost finished now anyway, so for me it would be a new job, it would be a new start, and it's something that I feel I could give 100% of my time to. There's
been criticism there hasn't been enough female representation in Tynwald and MLCs, certainly. Do you think, because quite a lot of women are actually being put up this time, do you think that is part of it this time, to balance the sexes, or is that completely irrelevant?
I'm so glad that so many women are standing this time, because I think that for any organisation, if you have a balance between men and women, it can only be a good thing.
So if you don't get in this time, will you still pursue the route again, for instance, when the next availability come up, or is this a one-time standing for you?
I think that now my interest has been sparked, it's definitely something that I would look at pursuing in the future. Perhaps not so much as an MHK, because I think that there's very different skills to being an MHK, as opposed to an MLC. And I think that my skills are much more behind the camera, if you like. They're more suited to reading, to scrutiny, to sort of sitting on boards, for example.
Okay. And what's your position about the position of MLCs? I mean, should they still exist in a few years' time? The Lisvane report, all that sort of thing. Do you see they have something you'd vote to keep them as a revising chamber, or disbanding them at some point?
Well, I think that Lisvane did acknowledge the fact that there have been two chambers in Tynwald for a very long time, and so in a way the proof of the pudding is in the eating. I mean, Tynwald is still with us after 1,000 years, so there is something about having a two-tier government. I think that within any organisation you need a second layer. For example, in journalism you have an editor, in TV you have an executive producer.
Should they be voted by the public then?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, of course, I'm all in favour of democracy, but the way I see it from the outside at the moment is that Legislative Council is a team of people, and within that team you need individuals with different backgrounds. So if the public were to directly vote for members of the Legislative Council, you might end up, for example, with 8 lawyers. Right. But that wouldn't work, So I think that the current situation where you have MHKs who have been voted by the electorate inviting candidates to become MLCs is a good one, but I do think that the job could be advertised like any other in the newspaper.
And MHKs seeing it sometimes as a retirement home, this parachute to get out when times are hard. Do you see that that's a good thing that MHKs do end up as MLCs, or do you see it should be outside people coming in?
I think it should be outside people. I mean, I don't think that MHK should be barred, because no one else is barred from becoming an MLC, but I think that they would have to finish their tenure or resign in order to become an MLC. But overall, Legislative Council needs a diverse mix of individuals.
And you're looking forward to the challenge?
Yes, I am. It's been interesting so far, just finding out how Tynwald works and how it operates. And I think it's a very exciting time to potentially become involved with Tynwald, because there are so many questions at the moment and there is so much potential for change, Whether change is necessary remains to be seen.